What up, everybody? Y'all know what it is. It's Sean Wade, Church Music and Tech, and I'm coming to you with episode 2. We're talking about MIDI today. Y'all ready? Let's go. No wrinkle shirt today. Now, if y'all caught episode 1, I explained that MIDI stood for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. MIDI is a means of synchronizing electronic digital instruments manufactured by different companies. MIDI is used to expand digital instrumentation while maintaining a simple interface, but combining several instruments into one. All right. For instance, you guys have seen my setup on Sunday. You've seen the big setup, you've seen the medium setup, you've seen the little setup. The little setup always includes my Nord. My Nord is always MIDI to my Motif ES, which is the church's, not mine. And I'm always playing the Motif as the main instrument, but I'm always playing both instruments at the same time via MIDI. And y'all know I use MIDI every Sunday, if not more than that. And you got a piano playing with the pad, playing with the stab, playing with the brass, playing with the organ, playing with the... Did I say piano? I said piano already. Where is MIDI used? MIDI is used not only in keyboarded instruments, guitars use it. Sometimes when you see this big black piece on a guitar, it will be hard to describe. So I'll just show you a picture of it. That's your guitar MIDI interface. It goes by the vibrations of the strings and it picks up the key and the note that's playing, and it's able to transmit that or translate that into digital data and to send it to like an Integral 7 or even like another keyboard or something that's going to give you a different sound. So you can play strings on guitar, you can play a lot of stuff. It's crazy. But there's also an instrument called an EWI. It stands for Electronic Wind Instrument. Essentially what it looks like is it looks like a recorder with a cord coming out of it. And again, same functionality. Rather than having notes like on a keyboard, you have notes like on a saxophone or a clarinet, and it transmits the same information via that MIDI cable into whatever MIDI module you're plugged into, and you can play different sounds. You can play brass, you can play flute, you can play strings, you can play piano, you can play bass guitar, you can play regular guitar. Whatever sound you dial up, whatever you're connected to, that's what it'll play. Now, a couple of things to understand with MIDI. One is MIDI CC, which means MIDI control change. The majority, if not all, MIDI keyboards have a light indicator that lights up every time it receives a MIDI message. All right, so experiment for you. So if you're hooking up 2 keyboards via MIDI, what you want to do is you want to go out from the main keyboard that you want to play into the secondary keyboard that you're not going to play. I mean, you may play a little bit on it. Y'all have seen me play the Nord sometimes, but you get what I'm saying. One of the things you want to notice, there is a indicator light that lets you know when you're receiving MIDI messages. You can have both keyboards turned all the way down. If you press a pedal, if you press a note, sometimes if you turn a knob, it will light up indicating that it's receiving MIDI messaging. That's because it's receiving MIDI CC, which is MIDI control change. That means the controller is sending messages to the keyboard that is being controlled, and your indicator light lets you know what it is. This consists of, like I said, pedal changes. This consists of volume changes. This consists of several messages within each note. That's another thing that you want to take into consideration. There are several messages including in pressing one note, which consists of when the note is played, how hard the note is played, how long the note is held, and when the note is released. That information determines how the note sounds, okay? So take that one note, translate it into 10 notes, then you have a better understanding of what function MIDI serves. I'll do another episode to where I'm talking about the parameters of digital keyboards and digital instruments. Now, the other thing that I want to talk to you about is how's MIDI connected. You have the traditional 5-pin MIDI cable, and then the other is just gonna be USB. That's gonna look like this right here. All right, now there's a couple of ways that you can hook this up. Of course, you can hook up the MIDI to MIDI, and that's with the 5-pin to 5-pin, out of your main board into your secondary board. Now, if you're hooking up more than one keyboard, you want to go out of the main board into the end of the second board, out of the through of the second board into the end of the third board. Otherwise, you're not going to get any sound. You can configure it different ways. Some keyboards you can do the out and it works as an out through. I know Roland does that a lot because they want you to be able to hook up multiple keyboards from the out and through. But it's different programming techniques that you have to know in order to set that up. So finally, we have this, my friend, right here. And this has the traditional 5-pin. It has this big thing right here, which is a little chip in here. And then you have the USB on the other end. You may have a keyboard that doesn't have up-to-date technology that doesn't include the USB on the back of it, but you want to play a sound out of a computer. Well, you have to be able to do that. In order to do that, you have that. That's called the USB Uno. There are several models, several types, several ways to hook it up. We won't get into that today. So one of my favorite instruments is the Roland Integra 7. I talk about it probably in every video that I've had. And the reason why I want to talk about the Roland Integra 7 is because of its MIDI capability. The Roland Integra 7, what it is a sound module. So it is essentially a desktop unit that you plug an external keyboard into to play. You can also, if you have something pre-programmed into a DAW like a MIDI track, you can actually plug the USB from the computer into the Integra 7, tell it which channels to play, and it'll play the whole song without a keyboard. But you have to pre-program it beforehand. I'll get into that. But the good thing about the Integra 7 is the Integra 7 is equipped with 16 channels. 16 channels that you can have set up to function any way you can. You can split the keyboard up. You can change the MIDI channel to where it is set up to handle, maybe I want strings and I want a thick string sound, so I want to use more than one sound, so I'll make that 1 through 4. And then I want brass and I want a thick brass sound. Y'all understand, y'all know how I am about brass. And I want 3 channels of brass, so I'll make, 5, 6, and 7 brass, but I'll put that on channel 2. So all I have to do in my main keyboard is switch from channel 1 to channel 2 to switch between my strings and my brass sound. Good thing about the Integra 7 is that you can utilize an iPad to control all of this. So you have faders on the iPad, and the funny thing about the faders is you have 18 faders. So you have 16 channels, you have a fader for each channel, you have multi-effects for each channel, and you have an EQ for each channel. You also have an external channel, so you can plug into the back or the front of the Integra 7. So you have 4 channels of inputs on the Integra 7. Crazy, stupid, dumb. And you have 1 fader that can control that volume on the iPad. So you can control something, or you can plug something into it and you don't have to touch it anymore. You can set the volume at 12 o'clock and use the fader to adjust that volume. Then you have the master volume, so that makes 18 faders. You have the 16 channels, you have the 1 external fader, and then you have the master fader. You have EQs on everything, you have multi-effects on everything, so you can set it up and configure it any way you want. The best thing about this is the way it is controlled by the iPad app is via MIDI, USB MIDI. But I just wanted to introduce you guys to the basics of MIDI, how to hook it up pretty quick, and I'll try to do a part 2 pretty soon on MIDI. But I want to get you guys acclimated with a few other concepts that we've talked about that we want to hit on for church music and tech. Right now, this is all I got for you. You already know what it is. Sean Wade, Church Music and Tech, and we out of here.